Where to Hunt podcast. It's okay.
Hi, I'm Dan Small, host of Outdoor Wisconsin, and I listen to Where to Hunt.
It's okay.
I'm Kurt Geyer with Working Class Bow Hunter. I listen to Where to Hunt podcast, and it's decent.
It's all right.
Hey, this is Bud Fisher with Catching Deers, and I think the Where to Hunt podcast is
All right.
It's got a little smokiness to it.
Smooth. You poured a shit ton in there.
You guzzle it like it's water anyway.
That's true. You trying to get me drunk over here?
You wanted to celebrate. Here you go.
That's all right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Where to Hunt podcast, the podcast that connects public land hunting enthusiasts, a.k.a. the okayest podcast in the Midwest, coming at you from the Okayest Hunter podcast studio. You can go over to okayesthunter.com and use code W2H podcast for a whopping 10% off. Make sure you get yourself something real nice. Father's Day is coming up. We'll be rolling out a discount for Father's Day. Site-wide, if you're part of the Okayest Hunter crew, you're going to get a bigger discount because, you know, founding crew members of the Okayest Hunter Army. That's going to help end deer shaming. Shout out to Drop Time Spirits. We're taking a break from those guys tonight to celebrate. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but we're drinking some Johnny Walker Gold Label tonight, and it is good. It's real good.
It's nice.
Uh-huh. We were just talking about Backwoods Grind offline. I'll be trying their Sunrise Roast, and Greg's going to switch up to the Pinotti. Damn it. Can I get anything right in my life?
You'll figure it out one of these days.
Pinotti Roast. Yeah, I'm like really liking the lighter blends of coffee. Dark stuff. We were just talking about the Death Wish. I feel like I should try it, but I don't know. It sounds like I'm not going to like it, even though I'm a caffeine junkie.
Yeah, I don't know. It's got to taste good along with having the other after effects.
All right, well, head on over to backwoodsgrind.com, enter in code WTH podcast for 10% off. And then huge call out. We just had Bill with Spartan Forge on last week. Head on over to spartanforge.ai, use code W2H for 20% off. They're our technology sponsor. They're bringing you this live feed, all the stuff that's in the studio that makes this happen. That's from those guys. So our call-in number, call into the show anytime, shoot the breeze with us, share a story, ask questions. 262-757-4122 every Tuesday from 6 to 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Or you can also video chat us. We haven't been releasing that link to the public. I think we just had some really deep conversations with guests. So if we get an opening for that, we'll drop it in the chat. You guys can pop in video if you'd like. That's not for comfortable. Depends on what you're doing. I'm surprised someone hasn't called us from the shitter yet.
Yeah, I mean, no pants on.
Right, just, what's up, guys?
Yeah.
I would do it. Maybe. My wife would kill me. She would kill me. So, okay, well, announcement to make. Officially, as of today, it was announced. But I learned about it last week, so I've been holding it in, which is really hard for me to do. Told some people that are close to me, but for those of you that follow the show and you've been, listening for a long time, we also have an app, the Where to Hunt GPS hunting app that helps you identify occupied, unoccupied hunting land. I attended a incubator last January of 2020, from January to March. And through that program, I applied for a grant for Where to Hunt for the app. And from then till now, we also have a chief technology officer, Joe, who helps with the app. And we secured a $10,000 grant from the MKE Tech Hub Coalition. So everything that we're building, we're just going to be able to do a little bit faster, with a little bit more polish. And hopefully we'll be able to get this thing done by the season. So expect a rebrand of the app, some new features, some pizzazz and polish, and some partnerships and all sorts of fun stuff. So stay tuned. It's a big deal. So that's why we're drinking some Johnny Walker Gold. Cheers
to that.
It's a big freaking deal for us. So anywho, I don't know. What else is new with you?
Nothing, man.
Bullshit. You went fishing yesterday.
That was not fishing. That was a walk down to the pier with a crazy dog that wanted to go swimming. Yes, I did bring a fishing pole, but that's not a fishing trip.
Okay.
It's just not.
Well, when your boat parts come in?
Hopefully tomorrow.
And then you got to tinker with it a little bit, make sure it's all going to...
No, it's not a tinker. It's I got to tear the lower unit out and replace the whole water pump. So it's an impeller and a bunch of gaskets and things. It's not hard to do. Just takes time.
Okay.
Put some new gear lube in it. And then the 2-stroke oil injection tank has a sensor that went bad in it. It's actually a float that fell apart inside there. And the only way to repair it is to buy a new tank. Repairing the tank is like a game of operation. You're probably not going to win without creating problems. So, new tank, new impeller, water pump, rebuild. We'll be all in good shape again.
So we'll get this pig on the water here.
Get it on the water
next couple of weeks or something.
Yeah, go hopefully by this weekend, and then go chase some salmon, go chase some bluegills, some walleyes. We got fish to catch.
You know, I've never really had any success fishing for catching walleyes. Bluegills, plenty.
Yeah.
Salmon, because of you, for sure.
Yeah, well, there'll be more of that coming.
So walleye, man, I would love to get on some walleye. But
Yeah, that's kind of like Northwoods. June is definitely the time to go. May is even good. You know, opening weekend, Northwoods Lakes, it seems to be hot. All the flowages are starting to heat up pretty good with the increase in temperatures. So you're going to see more and more walleyes get caught. And then once we get into that July and August, the hot stuff, then
they go deep.
Yeah, they go deep, and they're fun to catch on slip bobbers, you know, dragging leeches off slip bobbers over the humps in the deep water. It's fun to catch them, especially at night. You're going out there with lighted slip bobbers. That's a blast.
Yeah, it's cool. All right, well.
Anyway.
We got a guest with us.
Yeah, we should bring him on.
Let's bring him on. We got Alex Ramondo with us. He's been on before. He's daring to come back.
What's up, fellas?
You must like us.
How's it going, Alex?
Take a second trip around the OKS Hunter podcast. What are you doing over there?
Yeah, you guys are a little crackly on my microphone right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hearing that crackle too.
Yeah.
Kind of weird. Is there anything obstructing the mic or anything like that?
I mean, now I can hear you guys. Comes and goes every here and there.
Must be an internet problem. It wasn't doing that before.
There it goes again.
Let me just bring you off and bring you back on and see what happens. So let's try that.
A little bit.
I don't know why that's doing that.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are experiencing some technical difficulties. Just hang in, bear with our bullshit.
What is the deal with that? It's like when I talk, it's like a gurgly echo.
It's like the aliens from Signs.
It is like a clickety thing or something. Alex, why don't you hop off and come back in, see if I fix it.
I guess just what does it say? How the heck do I? Oh, leave. Yeah, I'll do that. You want me to leave?
Yeah, and then just click the same link, pop right back in. We'll see if that fixes it.
All right.
If we get one show without a tech problem, that'd be awesome.
I love technology.
Every time. Oh, I'm hot. It's hot in this room.
Yeah, you're all sweaty.
Milk was a bad choice.
You sweat like a child.
I'm just a freaking mess.
Is it the whiskey sweats?
No, I've had 2 sips. I've been sweating this whole damn time. All right, let's see if that fixes it. How's that?
Sounds better.
Gobbledygook?
Somewhat still there, but it's better than it was.
All right. Yeah, it's like every time we talk, it clip-clops.
Yeah, I got good Wi-Fi here too. I'm right next to the router.
Yeah, your signal says it's good. So.
Nah,
It's
who
not
knows?
enough. Well, damn it. Once you put the phone vertical again, I wonder what happens then.
How's that?
Still doing it. Man, that's super weird. I'm gonna have a real hard time. We can't it's gonna be shit audio the whole way through. How do I fix this?
Do you have him do a call in instead?
That's a good idea.
No video, just calling.
Yeah, if you're calling your phone, Alex, I'm gonna text you a phone number to call,
Yeah, it works.
and then just call that and see if that'll do the trick. Let me grab the number for you here.
Sounds like yeah. Sorry, man. I don't know what's going on.
No, it's not anybody's fault. Shit just doesn't work sometimes. So you see the number on the screen there?
You texted to me.
Yeah, I'll text it to you right now, and then we'll have you hop in that way. See if that does the trick.
All right, we'll try that then.
262-757. Idea, Greg. Thank you.
No. Didn't bring me on here for my good looks, I can tell you that.
Oh, I'm sweaty. You know what? Maybe mute. Oh, that's not gonna work. It's on your phone. Okay, that's fine. Take that off and see what happens. So if he calls in, you'll just see us talking and not him, which is how it used to be. We only used to do call in
Well, maybe we have to go back to that for just such
for
emergencies.
today. All right. Can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
All right. No gobbledygook that time. All right. So that's
Nice
fixed
and
the
clear.
problem. We just don't have you on video, that's okay. It's how we used to run it anyway, so no big deal.
Yeah, it's all good, man.
All right. Well, welcome to the show, the okayest podcast in the Midwest. Of course, we have a technical problem to kick things off, which is very common around here. None of that stuff will make it to the podcast itself, so we're free and clear. We worked out the kinks in front of everybody live. That's what we do. But dude, tell everybody that didn't listen in a year ago where you're from and what you hunt, and then we'll go a little bit deeper from there.
Yeah, been listening. Yeah, like last year I started when you guys had me on the show. I'm from Pennsylvania. I basically hunt turkey, whitetails, and black bears. So, basically do all that and a bunch of fishing too on the off season.
Cool. So you're kind of an avid woodsman, huntsman. What would you call that?
Outdoorsman.
Outdoorsman.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like
yeah,
huntsman.
You can say that.
Can we call you a huntsman? Is that does
definitely
that term mean something somewhere already?
Now you're starting to sound okay.
Yeah.
But you're one hell of a cook too. We got some ground to cover here. We're going to go down a bunch of rabbit holes today, everybody. So, we had you on last year, and you talked a lot about some of the cooking stuff that you've been doing, and just your hunting in general. But you got let's start with the whitetail. You got yourself a real nice buck last season. You cool with kind of sharing that story and how that all kind of went down?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, let's hear it, man.
So yeah, that was the biggest buck I've actually ever shot. And ironically, I was chasing that buck for 3 years. So that buck I'm sitting in my property now. The farm that I shot him on is directly across the street. And so basically the buck was going back and forth, and he was nocturnal. So last year, me and, 3 of my buddies kind of basically put a lot of time and a lot of money into the big farm, because, we wanted it to produce. So story short, during the rut, got up in the tree stand at 11 o'clock, and you guys all know what happens around those times. So this buck came out of the bottom to my left at 50 yards. He was chasing 10 does.
Holy shit.
All the does ran up. Yeah, there was 10 does. I heard them coming. It sounded like horses running through the woods. So they run up. They're 50 yards next to me, and they're just hanging out, but they kept looking over their shoulder, and I knew something was coming. So he shows up. He was a big 9-pointer, and the craziest part was there was a monster 10-pointer behind him as well. So there were 2 big mature bucks that were chasing these does, and I stood up, and I got set at 11. This was at 11:35. This happened. So I'm at full draw, and I had him at 44 yards. I felt confident in all my gear that I had because I was practicing consistently at 50, even though I would never take a shot.
What sight pin are you using to get that confident at draw at 50 yards? What do you got on your setup?
So at the time, I just got a brand new bow this year, but we'll get into that. I was shooting the Matthews TX5, and for the sight I use, which is the best sight I think, and it's because it's simple, is the Trophy Ridge Clutch. It's a single pin sight. It's fantastic. And then gold tip kinetic arrows, and obviously you guys know the Afflictor broadheads. So yeah, he gave me a broadside shot at 44, let it fly, quartered away. So, it basically went in his lung, out his back leg, and he died 50 yards. I heard him crash.
So he was quartering away?
He was basically, if he was broadside, a doe was going to his left. So his butt was turning towards me. So when I let it fling, he accidentally, he was turning really quick, and it basically shot right behind his rib and went out.
Got it. Dude, that's a far shot. I would feel like I wouldn't be as confident.
Man, I was shocked too, but I worked for this deer for 3 years, and it was the first encounter that I actually had with him at, a reasonable yardage. So 44 was the max I'd ever go. Anything over that, me personally, on a whitetail, I wouldn't take the shot.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of room.
I'm just happy that. What's that?
I was just going to say there's a lot of room for error there. Deer like to move, especially at that distance. So, yeah, you did good.
Yeah, that was pretty surreal walking up on him. I couldn't believe he was, basically laying there. And, yeah, it was definitely a lot of fun. And then the craziest part about the entire hunt was 6 more bucks ran by.
Man.
It was me, and it was the property's 400 acres of private land around here. So I had 4 other guys on it, and they basically saw a ton of action. It was probably one of the best hunting days I've ever had. And for me, it wasn't about harvesting the buck. It was obviously that was a big part of it. But for me, it was having my buddies who we've hunted together, for 8+ years, having them experience, all the rut action up there. Because the rut is truly something special for a bow hunter.
Yeah, you were right. What was the date? Do you remember the date?
I actually got to go through my picture really quick.
Mine's easy to remember because it was election day. I remember being like, fuck this, I'm leaving. I'm going to go hunting. I'm done paying attention to this for a minute. I had to check out.
Yeah. Still going through it. Should be coming up. But yeah, I mean, that was a memorable day. Okay, so it was November 29th.
Yeah, that's like, so, and you're on the East Coast?
Yeah, East Coast, Pennsylvania. That was actually, so with what I've noticed in PA is like the past 2 years, it's been very funky with the rut. Some hunters say you'll see rut action here early season because, 2 little bucks are going at it. And obviously, because they're young, they're going to chase early. But in Pennsylvania, the past 2 years, the rut really hasn't, that I've noticed, fully kicked off until the last 2 weeks of November. And this year, it ironically was the last week of November that you were actually seeing mature bucks chase does. You would hear grunts, and you would see a ton of lick branches that different individual bucks were going up to. So it was, I guess, we timed it right, story short, basically.
That's cool. Greg, when is our rut typically?
Well, I mean, things start kind of
going into
motion. Yeah, right around Halloween, things start happening. Actually, I believe middle of October, things start, the lull. There's plenty of nighttime movement and close to bed movement happening around the middle of October.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not close to that area, or you're not running trail cameras or walking through the woods a lot to see the sign being made and put 2 and 2 together, that a lot of the sign being made in an open woods is at night, it's usually middle of October. I mean, I've got historical trail cam data going back 8 years now. 15th, I got deer hitting licking branches, hitting scrapes, at least by the 15th. In some cases, as early as the 10th or the 12th. So it's going to vary region to region.
Okay. Yeah. No, I was thinking like, wow. The end of November
as far as like the rut,
yeah,
it's probably right around, it's usually the first to second week in November, depending on how, there's probably other factors into it, moon phase, weather,
temperature.
The rut, it always shows up around the same few weeks.
Yeah.
And then you get a second rut in the beginning of December, right up into the 20th. And
least around here.
And does will continue to get bred all the way into January.
Sure. Tears and Beers just commented and said Halloween is hot in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's hot here too. I think my dad, he takes like the second week in November off, almost I wouldn't say religiously, but that's his where he's killed the biggest bucks.
Sure.
Consistently over the years past, and I don't know. I've seen so much activity in October, like 31st or that Halloween weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But back in my younger years, I would just be drunk on Halloween,
right,
doing that kind of stuff, waking up,
chasing two-legged does instead,
looking like an idiot probably. No, that's pretty cool, man. A 44-yard shot at the end of November in rut, and you saw a bunch of other bucks the same day. Like, did you have this whole feeling of when you get a buck, it feels surreal and unreal, like it actually happened? That I experienced that this year. I was like, I was standing over a dead animal, and I was like, wow, this isn't really real, is it? Is he actually dead? I feel like he's going to get up and run away, and it's still not over yet.
Your buck was awesome, man. I was super psyched for you on that.
I'm just happy I got one. That was it for me. It could have been anything. I've been happy, but it's good stuff.
Yeah, to answer your question, man, I mean, I think for me, like, being that it was one of the biggest that I've had a shot on, that we've worked towards, yeah, you're right. Everything for me slowed down from the point of release. I still played in my head. It was like once that arrow left, I could literally just watch it slow motion because I couldn't believe that I actually hit the spot that I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, obviously you follow the blood trail and you walk up on him, and all I saw was his rack laying there on the side, and I couldn't believe it. So ended up calling the old lady, and her response was, finally, are you getting home anytime soon? So that was pretty funny. I said, I got a ton of work to do. It's going to be a heck of a drag. And it was, early, and I had to sit in the tree stand for another, I think it was 5 hours. I definitely ate a bunch of snacks and a bunch of Angry Bird levels by my buddies finished hunting.
That's pretty cool, man. That's good you stuck it out that way. I think my wife said something similar. She's like, yeah. So are you done now then? Like, are you done? I was like, I can be done for a while now. We can take a break from the hunting. She was, you remember, Greg.
Oh, yeah.
She was the same way.
That's good.
She just said, are you done? Because I already had a other taxidermist bill, and now to add this. So she was more of like that end. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah, and what came first? Was it the buck or the bear?
The bear came first, and to add everything in, we were like 2 months out from having our son. So she was, pretty pregnant. So I had to get home immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got to bring some like Rocky Road home with you or something like that. Some ice cream or wherever your local custard shop is out there. Pickles and peanut butter.
Oh, yeah, pickles. I could not hide my pickles enough from her. It was hilarious.
My wife's super pregnant right now. So we're going to, it's going to be an interesting season because we're going to have a newborn, which, this will be the third time this has happened around the same time of year. Who knows how it's going to go.
He likes chaos. It's fine.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Well, okay. So taxidermy bill for the buck. I'm assuming taxidermy bill for the bear. I've never hunted bear. My dad's hunted bear in Canada when he was young, before I was born. He shot one, never recovered it.
Mm-hmm.
What was like? Were you hunting bear in PA, or did you go somewhere?
So I was at my teammate Jacob's in New York. Actually, he's got a sweet property up there for black bears. So I always told him I wanted to hunt black bears. So it was my second time ever hunting him at his property, and it was a blast because he had bears where his property was. They were just flowing through. It was like a natural highway for him because, like, surrounding his house, like the closest, they have, camps where families would go up and spend time together. The closest camp was I think 2 miles away. So I guess what he was telling me was the bears were coming through his swamp and going towards the camp so they could get in the trash at night. So I got into the tree stand at 5 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't see anything. It's the first time I'm hunting bears. And the ironic part was we were having a beer at midnight, so I didn't get much sleep. And his spy point camera goes off. And a 600-pound monster is walking by the tree stand I'm about to sit in 5 hours. So I was like, oh, this is just lovely. Story short, got in the tree stand. Jacob said, "Good luck. You're on your own. I'm going back to bed." So
Okay,
was, yeah, how it was awesome, man. But basically, I sat in the tree stand, and sunrise around there was at 10 of 7, right when the sun broke and it was legal shooting time. But before that, right when 20 minutes before sunlight comes up, you guys know what I'm talking about. You can somewhat watch everything get lighter.
Yep.
So I was scanning back and forth like I normally would, and around like 6:45, I looked to my left. I'm like, that black thing wasn't there 30 seconds ago. So sunrise comes, and there's a black bear 25 yards in front of me. I couldn't believe it. The coolest part was you don't hear them coming in. It was ridiculously quiet. I had no idea that bear came in. I couldn't hear him. I didn't see him until he got in front of me. So he comes in front of me at 25. I had him at full draw, and I was hunting him with a bow. I shot him 25 yards. He climbed up a tree, made it maybe 15 feet in the tree, and let out that death moan and fell out of the tree and was basically dead. 25 yards in front of me. It was crazy.
Was it the 600-pound one that you had seen, or was it a different one?
This was a completely different bear. The bear that I shot was 280 pounds. For a first bear, it was great. He was big in person for me. But yeah, no, the 600-pounder, it looked like a dumpster with legs. Is the best way to put it. On trail camera, like I didn't see him in person. But yeah, the bear was just, I don't know. There was something very special about that hunt because bears are, it's very, very tricky sometimes because their nose is 20 times, more sensitive than an actual bloodhound's. So, but yeah, it was just an experience, and I'm actually very glad Jacob, allowed me to come up there, and I'll be back up there this year to hopefully get another one.
That's wild, dude. I talking about that dawn kind of blue light, everything's kind of confusing. You're not sure what you're seeing and so forth. Yeah, we didn't consider black bears black, and they're mostly just kind of round. So I feel like they would be really hard to see. Like when you said, "Oh, their black thing wasn't there before 30 seconds ago," that would really trip up your brain and be like, "Oh, is that just a shadow from a tree?" Or,
Mm-hmm.
Were you more nervous hunting a
a
predatory animal than like a whitetail? Did it feel or seem different to you hunting a big old bear that could?
It felt different to me because, hunting whitetails, you just walk to your stand and you're ready to rock and roll. With a black bear, it got real for me when we were in his Polaris and we were driving, and I got right to the edge of the woods, and then he's like, "Are you ready?" And then kind of everything slowed down because I was like, I'm walking in, this is their world, this isn't mine. So it was more of your senses are at an all-time high basically, because I've not a master black bear hunter, but it was just like you got to respect where they're at, because at any time, if he wanted to, they could have climbed that tree and they could have had their way. But it's a completely different world, and it's just it was just a blessing to actually get a shot on one.
Yeah, the fact that you had two come through in like 5 hours apart like that or whatever. Man, how many bears are in the area? It makes you think, like, Jesus, they're going through that area. They're traversing it frequently.
You want to hear the craziest part about this hunt? Which actually I haven't told you guys yet. The craziest part about this hunt was, so I got my bear, we quartered him up, obviously tagged him into the game commission, got all that squared away. So Jacob one of his buddies shows up, and it was around 1:00, and I'm ready to head home back to Pennsylvania. And his buddy gets in the same exact stand that I sat at 2:00. I get a text message when I'm driving home at 5:00. He shot a 470-pound male that was walking the same path mine did, out of the same stand.
That's crazy, dude. That's a big animal. That's a lot of freaking meat. And speaking of meat, Deers and Beers, Ryan over at Deers and Beers just asked, and his name on the screen is like some wonky Dwayneski. I don't know. He's probably wearing a tin hat over there with this weird name of his, but
tin hat.
He just asked, what's the meat taste like? Lean, fatty, And obviously, that's probably a good segue into the fact that you're cooking up a freaking storm over there. You're one of the more creative whitetail or wild game cooks, at least publicly, that I've come across in a while. And we actually were just on the Huntivore podcast. This week?
Yeah.
When was that?
Last Thursday.
Last Thursday. Yeah. So I don't know when that'll get aired, but talk about what are you doing with the meat, dude? Like with bear meat?
I've had it only in form of jerky, and it's pretty greasy. At least that was, but there's a way of trimming it, I'm sure. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, so there's like Greg said, it is greasy, some cuts of it, but there's a way of hiding the greasiness. There's a way of hiding that game flavor. Like a lot of people that, you guys will know from experience too, is like sometimes you'll meet people that don't like venison, people that don't like wild game because they had a bad experience with that dish. So for black bear, Jacob, before I got one, he goes, the meat's really good. It's just a matter of how you prepare it. So I did a bear roast and didn't post it on Instagram because it was the last minute thing. My father came up and, pulled it out of the freezer and prepped it. But I let the roast it in pineapple juice, garlic, and basil, black pepper, and salt for 48 hours. And then I just let it sit on the grill. And, thing with black bear meat is you can't eat it medium well, rare, any of that. You have to eat it at an internal temperature of 185 degrees because bears carry trichinosis worms.
Yep.
So but the cool part about the black bear was, so my buddy was telling me, who actually worked with a biologist here in PA about black bears, was if you harvest a bear, keep it in your freezer for 6 months before you touch it, not 3. The reason for that is because when bears go into hibernation, it's anywhere between 3 to 4 months, and the worms obviously live in their meat. But if you put the meat in the freezer for 6 months, it'll actually somewhat naturally kill the worms. So you technically don't have to worry about it, but you still have to be safe.
Wow, that is super fascinating. I certainly did not know that. I would probably do a shit ton of research before carving into some bear meat because it's different, and you'd probably trip on some of this stuff. But chorizo meat is super greasy. Would you say bear meat's greasy like chorizo?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Why is it so greasy? What is it? The fat?
Well, the only thing to compare it to would be pork.
Sure.
Okay. You don't eat pork medium rare. You don't eat it rare.
That's a good point.
It's got to be done through, right?
Yep.
Well, bear meat's like a darker version of pork. You can get parasites from it. So you got to cook it all the way through. It's greasy because, they're an animal that doesn't run very fast all the time, like a deer would. Just the way their body, breaks everything down, it stores it into fats so they can hibernate. And when they wake up, females can produce milk for the babies, because a lot of times they'll have the babies as they're just getting out of hibernation or maybe partially hibernating yet. So
yes,
their bodies are designed to store fat that way.
So when you get them there, yeah. So what the hell is chorizo made out of, by the way?
Many different kinds of mystery meats.
Because it's freaking good.
And some good spices.
Yeah. So what are you cooking? What are you cooking other than the roast? Like you're doing all sorts of stuff over there, man.
So last weekend I ground some up, made some black bear sausage. It was an apple honey sausage that I made. So it had chunks of apples and honey in it. And obviously you grind up with pork fat and put in casings.
Yeah. And did you get to try it yet?
I have not tried it. I think I'm going to break it out this weekend because it's going to be beautiful.
Sure.
So definitely want to try that.
What does your wife think of all your cooking? Does she like everything you're doing? Because that's the real test right there, right?
So yeah, when we first started dating, she lives like 20 to 30 minutes outside Philadelphia. So she grew up kind of in, I guess like neighborhoods. Like I grew up in the middle of the woods where my neighbor is my grandmother. And then the closest neighbor is right over the hill, which is a couple 100 yards. And then the rest is all woods. So story short, her favorite cut of wild game is actually maple glazed venison sausage.
So how do you make that? 'Cause
So
that sounds
she loves
off the tongue. That sounds really good.
My butcher actually makes it. It's part of his menu.
Really?
I don't know how he does it, but it is phenomenal.
I mean, anytime I make sausage links for breakfast, I just dump a bunch of syrup in the skillet. I don't know who else does that, but that's what I do, and it tastes great. And they're usually like maple, anyways, right? But maple glazed venison. So is it like maple kind of infused into the meat?
Yeah, so it's venison that's ground up, and it's got maple and spices infused in it. So you just hand form it in the patties that you want and put it on the skillet, and boom. I mean, it's I don't know how he does it. I want the recipe. He just won't give it to me.
Yeah, good luck.
Sounds like a freaking McGriddle on steroids.
Yeah.
Sounds better than McGriddle.
Yeah, no, I got a yeah, better than McGriddles, man.
Yeah, it sounds better than McGriddle, but I feel like if you did it with McGriddle-esque type buns, it would be as like a
That
burger
would be a
or something.
pancake.
Yeah, maybe. I guess.
Come on, man.
Well, sure.
Get your shit together.
Come on. But the McGriddle tastes like maple.
That's because the pancakes have freaking maple syrup
But
infused
do
into
you make
them.
pancakes with maple in them?
No.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
No.
Garbage food.
I like cinnamon pancakes. That's what I like. My wife doesn't like cinnamon pancakes, so I don't get to have it very often. I also love French toast. What's that line, 40-year-old virgin?
Yeah.
Some fucking French toast.
Oh, boy.
There'll soon be a podcast with a couple rabbit holes. Come on now. I think you said that to someone recently, Greg.
You've only interrupted this poor man at least 5 times
Because we're
now.
talking about food and I haven't had dinner yet. I'm like getting all jacked about food.
And you're sweating and you got a man boob mark in your freaking
That's right
t-shirt.
here. I know. Oh.
You're losing cup sizes here, bud.
One run I did yesterday is really kicking my ass. Go 1.5 miles, I'm still sweating. One whole day later. It's hot in here. We don't got a fan because we don't want the audio to get all goofed up.
He's stressing.
Yeah, we had about 100 tech issues out of the gate per usual. It is what it is.
Now it's become excuse hour.
You know, when I shot my buck, it was really hot out, and I remember posting a picture about it. Some guy's like, "Well, you shouldn't be such an idiot and being all sweaty." I'm like, "Yeah, but I sweat a lot. You'd have to know me to know that I don't have to do much to sweat."
It's fine. We gave him the deuces, sent him on his way. It was all good.
Mm-hmm. I don't forget that kind of stuff. Anyway, so you got your bear meat, you got your venison. You're doing fishing. By the way, is the mount? What'd you get for the mount for the bear? What did you do? Did you get like a rug, or are you getting like a rar?
A rar? Wow, you are a city slicker.
Actually, yeah, actually no, he's spot on with it.
That's what my son does.
A rar.
He goes, "Rar." What's the bear saying? That's what he does. He's 2 years old. He knows what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
What
it's
is
a 3/4 mount.
A 3/4. Okay, that's it. If that's the official term, 3/4 mount,
AKA the rar.
Yeah, that's AKA. We'll start saying that from now on.
Learn something every day, guys.
Yeah, so it's from his waist up, and he's going to be coming out of the wall with his paws up and his mouth open, pretty much. So, and maybe my taxidermist said he might throw, that natural feeling with like rocks and stuff around it. But
yeah,
I kind of just said, do what you have to do to make it nice, but kind of save me a little bit of money so I don't get in trouble.
Oh, you kind of wrote him a bit of a blank check, huh?
No, not really. I told him what I needed done, and I told him the price, that where I wanted to be at. But I've been going to this guy for like 9 years now, and he's done 4 of my buck mounts, a couple trout, and a couple euro mounts, and he did a pretty cool fox hat that I have. So he kind of hooked me up on the low, honestly, because I do a lot of business with him when it comes to butcher bills.
Cool.
That's cool. So he's butcher and taxidermist. We got one of those here in Wisconsin. I think the only one that I'm aware of.
Mm-hmm.
Outdoor Addiction here in Wisconsin. Yeah. They do that.
This guy's fantastic. I was just at his shop. He has everything there.
What's his name, man? Tell people about him. What's he called? We got a lot of listeners out of Pennsylvania for some reason.
Yeah, his name's Bill Pasquale. He's in Aston, PA. Super nice guy. Butcher shop is fantastic, clean. You walk in there, it smells like Lysol basically, and everything's spotless. His taxidermist shop, I ironically was at a job site 2 days ago that was next to his house, and I saw him outside. I'm like, hey, Bill, you mind if I come in to see if any of my stuff's done? He's like, come on down. First animal that he had that he was finishing was a Pennsylvania elk, and I was blown away. I never thought I'd see one in person.
Wow. How many do you guys have, like a strong herd over there for elk or what? Really?
It's a once in a lifetime hunt.
Mm-hmm.
So Bill's 62. He's been applying for this tag for 21 years and he hasn't got drawn yet.
Yeah.
Our elk herd it's big, and we have some of the biggest bulls I'd like to say in the entire world. I mean, we have massive bulls here, but they only draw 100 tags a year, and only 20 of those tags are for bulls. The rest are for cows.
Oh.
So you put in a lottery, and there's 3 million hunters in Pennsylvania. So, it's going to be extremely, extremely hard to pull that tag.
It's pretty cool, man. I didn't know that. We have an elk herd here, but
I think we're only doing 10 tags a year. It just started 2 years ago, and out of I don't know how many people. Yeah, so I apply every year, and I may never see that tag, but I just keep putting money in towards the whole conservation fund of getting them back here. So
that's what I do every year. You buy preference points is basically what I'm at right now.
It's pretty cool. Interesting. So you get I was just going to ask a question. What the hell was I going to ask? It was about the mounts. Yeah, that's what it was. Well, it wasn't a question. It was just like so this deer that I got this last year is the first deer I've ever gotten mounted. And I didn't realize how many damn questions you have to answer about a mount. Like, do you want them facing left? Do you want them facing right? Do you want the ears back? Do you want them forward? Do you want them full seek? I'm like, what? Oh, this is a lot to consider, because if I get another deer, like I want them on both sides of my fireplace. So I had to put some thought into this. Like when you go to your taxidermist, you really got to think about some shit that you hadn't thought about. And maybe you have. If this is your 8th or 9th year with this guy, you're no spring chicken like I am. So, Greg, you have your one buck mounted that I know of.
I got one for now.
Did you you get it there and you're like, oh,
yeah.
What did you think?
Well, I just remembered how he looked when I shot him, and that's kind of what I did. The same thing with the duck that I mounted. No, the deer was anything but scared. No, and then I had Jeff. I said, this is the way he was facing. This is kind of how I'm envisioning this. What do you think? And then he made some suggestions, and we went with it, and I thought it turned out good.
Yeah. So I was trying to think ahead. I was like, if I get more deer, how do I want these to all go together? So at least for the first 2, I want them on both sides of the fireplace, but it's going to be a minute. I need to get 2 before I can even go on the fireplace, because where the hell did this cat come from?
That's the next animal you can mount.
Oh, I didn't know he was in here. That's not a technical problem. I don't know what you call this, a fur problem.
Yeah.
You want to get made into a hat? He looks like a raccoon.
But no, per my wife's request, the next one will have to be mounted kind of facing that one. So it'll be pretty cool.
Sorry about that.
Yeah,
cat problems over here. Well, that totally distracted me.
So you got some trout mounted too. What kind of trout are you usually chasing out there? Is it brookies or is it browns, rainbows? What do you have?
So we've got basically kind of everything around here. It depends, what they stock here in Pennsylvania. I was actually fishing 2 days ago. I was at Hibernia State Park, which is local to here, and they basically have this really, really nice hole. It's long. It's got a couple nice pockets where hatches are coming off, and the fishing game officers were coming around looking at license, and I asked the guy, and I was like, hey, do you guys have any, big fish held over? He goes, look right in front of you behind that rock. There was a 30-inch, 8-pound brownie in there. And nice. I couldn't believe it. And the officer said, yeah, I put that fish in there.
Holy crap.
So, yeah, it looked like a submarine going through a freshwater stream. But to answer Greg's question, I've got biggest one I ever caught was 28 inches, 6.5 pounds as a rainbow trout. And then ironically, 2 weeks after that, I had gone to a stream that wasn't really fished hard that my buddy found, a golden trout slash, people call them palominos.
Sure.
That was a 23-inch I pulled out. That was 5 pounds. And then so I caught 3 good fish that year, and probably the prettiest fish out of all of them to me. And it wasn't the longest. He was only 16 inches. I mean, my favorite trout is a brook trout. The colors on them are fantastic.
I think the
way they fight too. They're like brown trout. Brown trout fight, but there's something about a brook trout that's just, I think they're the prettiest fish there is.
Yeah.
When it comes to trout.
I would agree. And as far as like fighting, they are hard fighters. And I mean, my
they
experience,
do a lot of head shakes, right?
Well, they jump, they come out of nowhere. Like my experience was a stream in Montana with them, and nobody knew that there were that many brook trout in there. And so I'm just green to the area, go down there with, I'm an okayest fisher person, a spinning rod and a Panther Martin. I mean, that's like a stick of dynamite to some. So we go out there with a gold Panther Martin and start dragging it through, and you don't even see these fish in the bottom. They hide that good because of their coloration. And all of a sudden this, I don't know, it was only a 10-inch brookie, came out of nowhere and just smoked the spinner, stopped it, and all of a sudden it's peel and drag. I was running 4-pound test on that rod and had the drag set kind of light. And I'm like, I didn't even see that fish. Where the heck did he come from? So there's enough underlying, cuts underneath the bank that he could have hit under and came out and smacked that bait. But it was like one after another, real nice, 8 to 10. I think the biggest one I caught out of there was 14 inches.
Oh, that's a great brook trout.
And then I caught a brown the last day I was there. That was, I don't know, it was from my knee bone down past my ankle bone. So it was probably a good 20 inches or better. It was a nice fish. I thought I was snagged in the bottom when I hooked into that fish. The colors were amazing on it.
Our buddy Zach Hoheisel with Growing Wild TV,
he was just out fly fishing today. I chatted with him a little bit.
Oh, good. Yeah, I think he's actually said his favorite fish to catch are brookies. Yeah, probably because they're just fun to catch. They're beautiful. I've done
beautiful fish.
A small amount of fly fishing. It's all been guided for me. It's usually like a Father's Day thing. I go with my father-in-law, and we've gone to like easements here in like the driftless area in Wisconsin, and done okay. I think I've caught more smallmouth than trout.
There's nothing wrong with that either.
Those fish fight hard on a fly rod. It's super fun. That's cool, man.
Yeah, the crazy part about the brown trout, what's funny about that fish that I caught that day? We went up to the bridge, and me and my buddy Andrew, we overlooked the bank, and we had our glasses on or whatnot, and I looked at him and I said, "That's not a trout in there." There was 3 fish that were sitting there. One of them to me looked like a really big rainbow trout, but it wasn't a rainbow trout. I knew it wasn't. There was something about the body, and there was 3 of them in line. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to try something different. So I actually had a tiny shrimp jig with it was a size 14 hook on it. So a really small hook in it.
Tiny.
So I threw it in front of this fish, jigged it, and the fish moved his head. And I'm like, all right, I'm about to get this fish. By the way he moved, I swapped the hook out to make it a little bit bigger. I threw that in. I hooked onto him. I get it to the bank. My buddy goes, "Are you kidding me? You just caught a 30-inch walleye out of a stream where this fish shouldn't even be." I don't know how the fish got there. It was the first time I ever caught a walleye, and it was probably hands down to me one of the best fish I've ever eaten.
Yeah, walleye are a pretty big deal.
We don't have them like that in Pennsylvania down here. I mean, most of the fish is big mouth. You got catfish and you've got your trout, and obviously you've got your sunnies down here. But for me, it was like, a walleye? Really? Why is that here?
They make their way into the darndest places.
I've caught walleye out of a stream. That's in fact the only real time. Sort of like maybe ice fishing once or twice, but out of a stream in Delafield. You walk that stream right there, whatever that is.
Yep.
And you walk that, and you catch
it's
most
tied
rock
to
bass.
several of the lakes in the area,
That's
and they're
right.
always stocked with walleye. So it's a very easy and good possibility.
But it was fun. I was like, holy shit, it's a walleye. Like that's an exciting catch.
Mm-hmm.
To me, at least, it's a big deal. I can caught more pike that I can throw a stick at. That's for sure. Tons and tons of pike. We got lots of pike here.
Yeah, not so much here. I mean, we've got obviously Lake Erie, which is about a 6-hour drive from here. But
Right,
there's
that's-
walleye, muskie, all that good stuff.
Yeah, that's where you're going to probably have your best chance at a monster walleye is Lake Erie.
Is that one of the
Smallmouth,
deepest of the
too.
Great Lakes, Lake Erie?
Superior is
Superior.
the deepest.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
You ever catch anything
I'm after a
funky out of
muskie, to be
Michigan?
honest with you.
Funky out of Michigan.
Other than
What's
trout,
that?
do you catch any like muskie or walleye or anything?
I've heard of people catching muskies right out of McKinley, believe it or not. One guy did catch one. But as far as like funky, nothing weird other than, the gobies, you catch them.
The hell's a goby?
It's an invasive species of bait fish that
They just get big.
Yeah, they don't get very big. I mean, maybe 8 to 10 inches is a big one, but that's why our browns get to 30 some pounds.
They suck on those.
They eat those things. And that's why we have, every year you turn around, guys are catching more and more 5 and 6 pound smallmouths out of Door County and out of Green Bay. And even some of the outlying areas of Lake Michigan, they're catching them because they have those gobies to feed off of and get big. So that's how we're getting big fish there. But I can't think of anything like odd that I look at and go, other than a whitefish. Like we were jigging, me and my buddies were jigging trying to catch browns and buddy hooks into a whitefish. And
That's
then I
kinda
watched,
fun.
yeah. And the whitefish are excellent. I filleted up and they're quite good. They're bony, but they're good eating. Absolutely.
I know Door County's. I've heard like some charters that do whitefish out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we caught this right out of McKinley, right outside the Gap.
Oh.
Just jigging a white Kalen's jerk minnow on a bullet head jig. We were hoping for a few other things, but yeah, they're good eating.
Mm-hmm.
Might as well. And I watched a guy catch a lawyerfish right off the bridge.
A what?
Lawyerfish?
Oh, don't know what that is either.
Google it.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah, no, I'll have to look that up.
It's a freshwater cod.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yep. It's our only species of cod that's found in fresh water.
Interesting.
Yep. They're crazy looking. They look almost like a dogfish. People can look at it first glance, it looks like a dogfish. It's not. So guys will catch them.
Have you ever caught one?
I've never personally caught one. I just watched a guy catch one right
Okay.
right where the Milwaukee River dumps into the lake.
Yeah, it looks like a dogfish. You're right.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a dogfish, but they don't have the teeth. They got barbels on the bottom of their chin to feel the bottom. And they pretty much attack everything just like a dogfish does. But the meat, they got a skin too, like a bullhead or a catfish does. So you got to skin them, but the meat is quite good.
Weird.
Mm-hmm.
I would have just
That
thought
is
it's like a
pretty
dog.
wild.
Yeah.
Just toss it up on the screen here for some people to see, and that tastes like a cod?
Oh, dude, it's good stuff.
Weird. God, I'm learning so much tonight, you guys. This is ridiculous. All right. Now
You're welcome.
All sorts of other weird fish pictures. I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing that screen. We're getting weird shit.
No, nothing weird. I mean, coho, browns, lake trout, kings. I've caught walleye out of Door County, tons of rock bass, perch, bluegills, pike. I mean, big.
Do you guys have snakeheads?
We don't have them. You guys have them out by you on the East Coast. We don't have them here.
We have dogfish.
We have dogfish. Those are native.
Okay.
Snakeheads are not. Those are brought over from Asia.
Those are not good.
They're good eating.
They're not good for the environment,
No.
as far as I understand.
Now they compete with all the rest of the predators.
Yeah, and they're pretty prolific, right? Like
Very.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I probably watched some documentary on Discovery Channel about it.
They're cool looking though. I think they're a pretty aggressive feeder too. Like you throw a popping frog in front of them like your bass fish in top water and they'll crash it. They'll eat it pretty willingly.
If you're top water fishing with a rat, like a rat setup or like a frog, they will smash that all day long.
Mm-hmm.
That's fun
But
to catch
our
fish.
rule here in Pennsylvania, in our state is if you catch them, you got to kill them right there on the spot.
Yep.
Yeah, because I don't know. There's a stream down the road from here, right next to the Philadelphia airport, that I'll go fishing to. It's John Hines State Park, and there's people just go down there and they dump their snake heads that outgrew the tank. They just dump them right in the stream, and they thrive in there because there's, crappie in there. There's bluegills. There's bass. I mean, I saw a snakehead last year when I was fishing off the bank. It must have been 2 foot long. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, they fillet up nice.
Yeah. Well,
Never
hey,
had one, man. Definitely a meat I want to get.
Alex, I know when we started, I asked, or before we started, I asked if you could share, so we're switching it up because you already did a memorable hunt last time you were on. If you can share an okayest hunter moment, I think that would be pretty funny.
Oh, God.
The Rolodex is spinning.
Honestly, just an okayest hunter moment. I mean, I'm going to start saying that now for when I actually start, messing up in the field. That's the best term for it. I was in the tree stand last year. It was the end of the season. So we're in January. It's cold out. I wanted to get one more doe because my father said he wanted a doe. Dad of the freezer. And I said, Dad, don't worry about it. I'll get you a doe. I'll pay for the butchering. It's all yours. You work hard all day so you can have this. So, all right, cool. So I walk into the tree stand right behind my house right here, and it overlooks a 30-acre field. And I was by myself filming and all that. So a couple does walk out. It must have been 4 o'clock, so I had about 45 minutes worth of sunlight left. They were only, a year, 2 years old, and then fawns kept coming. The past yearlings walked out. And all of a sudden, right behind me was the doe that I wanted. A mature 4-year-old comes out behind me. She walks her way about 30 yards up. Then she turns broadside and walks in front of me at 20 yards. I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to make my dad so happy. Draw back, had it dialed on her, fired right over her back. My dumbass was practicing at 35 yards that day and never moved my sight down.
That's
So
definitely an okayest hunter
her
moment.
back.
I mean,
that was horrible. I was so mad at myself.
If you're listening to this and that hasn't happened to you, I'd be shocked.
It happens.
Yeah, it happens, man. Yeah, it's just bad.
That's a pretty common one. I actually get I wouldn't say terrified, but I'm like overly conscious of that one because I feel like that's one I'm going to mess up. So at least now that I got my rangefinder that I scooped up mid-season last year, I'm pretty obsessive about ranging things in and making sure I'm, is this sight pin where it's supposed to be? Because I'm freaked out that I'm going to totally biff on that. Because once I see a deer, I'm not thinking about that at all. I'm like thinking about 100 other things. So I feel like it's gonna be a pretty common one for sure.
Yeah, and then another thing was, ironically, had my snack bag explode in my bag, so I was pretty upset about that.
The hell were you eating that's exploding?
I was more upset about that. What's that?
What were you eating that's exploding?
Well, it was a bag of trail mix, and it was sitting next to my, I have Havalon knives, and one of them was out a little bit. So when I was walking into the tree stand, it must have rubbed against the knife. I went in to get some, didn't cut my hand or anything. I reached down, I'm like, oh man, there's trail mix all over the bottom of my bag.
I did that once. I thought it'd be a good idea to make my own trail mix. I did dehydrated banana slices and chocolate chips. Well, on hot days, or you get your hand warmer in the right area, even on a cold day, suddenly all the chocolates melt. I was like, damn it. It's just a big frickin' chocolatey mess. Gnawing at it like an idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
my dad was pretty mad he didn't get back straps, but had some in the freezer already, so yeah, I got a lot.
Made it up
if you guys were closer, I'd definitely give you guys some of the black bear meat for sure.
Yeah, it'd be fun to try that,
I got a few more years to keep applying and building preference points, but for a good unit, you're probably 7 years here in this state.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm 4 years into it now. I got a few more years to go before I can think of tossing my chips into the...
Are you going to get a guide if you go, or what
No.
are you going to do?
No,
you got somewhere you're going to go? Public?
Yeah, I have a place by my uncle's place that it's all public. It does get pretty heavily pressured, but there's big bears up there, so start putting the time in and see where it goes.
Cool. Well, so maybe there's some bear in my future after all.
Be a few years yet.
I've got 2 places. Yeah, I got 2 places we'll talk about that I can take you guys. So we'll figure that out if you guys are willing to do that.
Yeah, travel might be in our future here. I don't know. We're getting asked to go to a bunch of different places, so we're gonna have to start taking people up on these offers.
Need to before they disappear. They figure out who we really are, and I don't want to see those guys back here again.
We're bad omen. I'll tell you what. I'll be an unlucky person along any expedition outdoors. Man, I just really wish I could have got you on something. I'm like, yeah, don't worry, it happens all the time. Every time I come along, we don't see shit. We don't catch shit. We don't shoot shit.
Whatever. I put you right on the fish.
That's right, you did. Before the sun came up.
I'd love to have you guys out here, honestly, in the future. So
Cool.
we'd have to figure that out.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, I think there's a chance we'll be out there, in November. Well, maybe not there. I don't even know where the hell we're going.
Figure it out when the time gets there.
We're going somewhere out east with Spartan Forge in November. So we'll see where we end up.
Let me know. I'll cook a 3-course meal for you guys.
Cool.
I would love to have some of your cooking, man. That stuff's good. By the way, hey, before we drop off here, let people know where they can find you so they can follow along.
Man.
And if you're sharing recipes, I think that's a fantastic thing because you have a lot of really creative recipes that you're putting out there on your social channels.
It's honestly just my Instagram page, which is Alex Ramondo. It's all one word, Ramondo. I don't do too much on Facebook. Instagram is kind of where I post most of my stuff. We are doing a YouTube this year. I've got 2 hunts booked this year, and they're going to be pretty wild episodes. So it's going to be a lot of fun meeting up with one of our sponsors and then going to do a dream hunt of mine in late January. So, but if anybody has questions about recipes, you can, send me a DM and I'd gladly send you, anything I got to help you guys out.
Cool. Rock on, man. Well, cool. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. We're going to end the live broadcast, and my wife popped on to say hi to everybody. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We appreciate you hanging out. We had a bunch of people watching tonight, so we appreciate that a whole bunch.
Thank you.
Leave us a freaking review while you're at it. I'll ask nicely.
Came on to see you sweat like a child.
Do children sweat a lot?
Look at your kid, man.
Yeah, I guess. I remember growing up, my dad would be like working on my bike or something like that, and I would not be sweaty at all. And he'd be like droplets dripping off his nose. Oh, it's just so hot. I'm like looking up at him like, oh, he's really hot.
Oh, it was all the beer he had before.
Oh, that's me. I'm just the sweaty guy. Oh, man. I just want to see your name come up on the screen. It's pretty neat.
Well, on that note.
Well, on the live stream, thanks for tuning in. As you all know, we produce the same night we record. So this will be in podcast land this evening, sometime after the kids go to sleep.
Thanks for tuning in.